guys, it's me. Welcome to our, what day of the week is it? Tuesday live feed. And today we're going to talk about introducing solids. We're going to talk about purees. We're going to talk about rice cereal. We're going to talk about a ton of different things today. And I'm very, very, very excited because we've partnered with our friends over at Sage Spoonfuls. So I have a ton of Sage Spoonful stuff to talk about and give away. I have this all right here. I got more pages. I'm going to tell you what this is, although it could potentially be a medieval torture device. I don't think it is. So we're going to do a lot today. We're going to actually make some baby food too, which sounds kind of fun, but I love the products from Sage Spoonful, so it's requiring me to play with everything because I just love it so much. Betty's trying to participate. I love a good immersion blender. So if you are joining us today, welcome, first of all, and if everybody could just give me a good old hi so I could see that you're there, and I would love to know too where you're from. That's what I would like to do today. And I also would like to know in a separate comment too, so just tell me where you're from. And then in your next comment, just tell me how old your twinnies are. So if you have never joined us for a live feed here, hey Kimmy, if you've never joined us for a live feed here at Twiniversity, here's how this goes. So I am talking to my phone virtually, basically it's you guys, and then off to the side over here I have my computer. So if you see me reference the side, that is only because I'm checking messages from Julie. So Julie is behind the curtains at Twiniversity, and if you have any questions, you could put them out to her and she could send them over to us, and the whole mom squad is going to be joining us and on and off a lot during the live feed. And so we're going to be here, I don't know, I would say anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour. I always say 40 minutes and then I end up talking too much because I end up having too much fun. Oh, everybody, stop the presses and say congratulations to Amanda, who is expecting her twinnies pretty much any day. Amanda, you're getting pretty close there. So congratulations to Amanda on your upcoming bundles of joy. And what's really cool is that being part of our little group here today and chatting with us, you're going to really get off on the right foot. Now, Megan, look, her babies are 8 months old, right? Did it say 8 months old? 8 weeks old. Look, I could scroll a tiny bit. If you don't mind, I'm actually going to pull up the live feed on my computer right here next to me so that I can see it and I know what's going on. Hopefully I won't break out into too many accents today. So, oh my gosh, we've had such a great week, have we not? Did you guys, who joined us yesterday for our live feed with Chelsea and talking to her babies? Oh, Kaylee's baby's just turned 1. That's so awesome. All right, so I have it open here too. Jewel, you know what to do. Shoot me a Facebook message. I do have some goodies over here to the side. And where's my paper about what we're giving away? Julie is gonna tell us, what did I just do with my paper? I think the dog stole my paper that had our prizes on it. Well, Julie's gonna tell us, she's gonna give us a heads up on what we're giving away today. We have a lot of goodies to give away, which is very exciting. I swear to you, am I literally losing my mind? I think I'm losing my mind, guys. Do you have a guess where that paper is? That's hilarious. So don't worry about it. We will tell you. Julie will just shoot to me what we're giving away. But what I did to prepare for today's live feed is not only do I know a few things about, you know, introducing solids to twinnies, but I was also able to go through Liz's book. So Liza Huber, she is the founder of Sage Spoonfuls and really just a very dynamic and extraordinary person. And her story of her experience with her families. Let me show you a picture of her and her kiddos. It's just fantastic. Look at this picture. I mean, seriously. They're like literally the model family. So do you guys know, has anybody ever heard of Sage Spoonfuls before? Do you own any Sage Spoonfuls goodies? I want to know kind of what you have. I know what my favorites are. So, oh good, Jewel, just tell me, just remind me as we go through when to give away prizes and what to do, just like we always do. But I want to do a few things today. So now I kind of get a gist of around how old everybody's babies are. And also as a reminder, you guys know that we do have information in our what to do when you're having to, when it comes to solids as well. So don't get nervous. You could always reference the book. And of course, we have a great amount of resources on Twiniversity. I also want to say that I found a really fantastic article about introducing solids to your kids on Lucy's List. So if you haven't visit our Meg over at Lucy's List, she's a fantastic writer and she has such a great team, and her website is kind of like the Twiniversity for singletons, I almost want to say. So yeah, I love me some Lucy's List. She has a great article over there. So I stole some funny jokes from her, which I'm going to use here. Hope you don't mind, Meg. And then of course we have Liza and everything that's in her book. So let's get started and let's talk about how do we know when our baby is ready to start solids, right? So how do you really know? What are the cues that I could look for? So now you guys heard you really shouldn't start introducing solids till 6 months. Unless, of course, your pediatrician says something sooner. If you feel like maybe they're ready a little bit before 6 months, don't hesitate to speak to your doctor and say, hey, do you think that now is a good time? And if she gives you the thumbs up or he gives you the thumbs up, then maybe you could start a little bit sooner. But in general, I would not plan on starting solids until 6 months old. So before you start, you have to look for a few kind of clues and warning signs. So number one, could they sit up on their own? Once the Twinnies could sit up on their own, we could start talking about introducing solids. The next really big clue is, do they watch you when you eat? So if you're sitting at the dining room table and the kids are maybe in their bouncy seats on the floor next to you, when you put food in your mouth, do their eyes go from the food into your mouth? Or are they like, Mama, I'm hungry, we would like some of that? If they start kind of watching you eat, then I would really think that they're going to be pretty ready. So they're clearly showing interest in food. Maybe they could smell the food. So they have to sit up on their own and they start showing interest. Now, once they do that, even before you start introducing the solids, get them used to where they are going to be eating. So if you have high chairs, bust out the high chairs if you haven't been using them already. Put them in the high chair, get them used to sitting in the high chair. You could do it a little bit at a time, a lot of it at a time, whatever you choose and whatever your babies are comfortable with, but get them used to sitting in the high chair. And if you haven't been using bibs, get them used to wearing their bibs. All right, I just realized, is my shirt too low for this live feed? No, we're okay. We're all right. So get them used to wearing their bibs, get them used to sitting in the chair. If you want to, you know, get one of the, they just have to get used to sitting in a more inclined position, because if they're in a bouncy seat or whatnot, it's kind of like a recline. It's like a lazy boy where you want to get them used to sitting at the table. There's a lot of high chair choices out there. The Space Saver high chair from Fisher-Price is a really good choice. Summer Infant has a really good choice. And of course, if you're really limited on space, take a look at the Baby Bjorn high chair. Those are all solid options. If you're really limited on space, though, look at the Space Saving. But if you have quite a bit of real estate, there is a ton. Peg Perigo has a really great high chair. The funny thing is I'm trying to think who has a bad high chair. I like, you know, every high chair has kind of its perks. So to me, I always like the Space Saver ones because I have dining room seats anyway, and I always enjoyed when the Twinnies would sit at the table with me. So I could put them in their little Space Saver high chair, and then they could be kind of part of the family. So once you've gotten them used to it, once you've spoken to your doctor, you could start discussing introducing your solids. So what do we need? How do we prepare? What do we do? Do we get our kitchen ready? What's kind of like the first foods? If you have started introducing solids, I want to know the solid that you started off with. That's the curious question of the day. What did you start off with? All right, so the easy ones to start off with, of course, are banana, because all I have to do is have some super ripe bananas and I could just peel it, mash it, call it a day. Avocado, another super easy, great one. All I have to do is just wait for it to be super ripe, peel it, smash it, good to go. So those are the two easiest, which is always available, always ready to go. And if somebody is introducing solids, of course, I would say those are the things that you should have in your house. Now, there's an old school theory, and see, it's like it's old school, but then and I believe in it. So the old school theory says you introduce solids gradually. See, Kelly's doing avocado. I love avocado. And you guys, by the way, know the avocado trick, right? If you don't use the whole avocado, you know when you put it in the fridge and it starts to turn crazy colors? Leave the pit inside of the avocado and then cover it with some saran wrap and then put it in the fridge. If the pit is in there, it doesn't change colors as much. And even if it does, it's just a tiny bit on the top. Also, did you know that you could freeze avocado? So if you bought, like, let's say it's avocado season. If you want to buy a ton of avocados, just quarter them, put them in like some Glad Anywhere, or even put them in tiny little containers like this. Yikes! Throw it in the freezer, put a nice little label on it. So Sage Spoonfuls has really, could you see that, or is it literally so bright? There you go. They have great little labels. You can put it on the bottom, you can put it on the top, you can put it on the side, wherever you want. If you know, like, I'm always going to be using this for avocado, just write avocado on the side. It's done. We're going to talk about these more in a second. But going back to kind of making this gradual introduction of foods, old school people would say that you introduce super slow and you let your baby have a taste of something and you stick with that solid for days. And if there's no allergies, you introduce the next solid and the next solid and the next solid. But new studies show that you have a smaller window, that your baby has kind of the flexibility to accept more different flavors sooner. So instead of waiting the 3 to 5 days that probably our moms did, you could wait less of a period of time, but you still want to look out for any types of allergies. So any kind of redness around their mouth, any hives, anything at all, call your doctor immediately and let them know. If you have a food allergy, speak to your doctor about whether the baby has a higher chance of having that food allergy. It's funny because my mother-in-law is allergic to shrimp, but she didn't develop the allergy until she was older in life. And in the beginning, it seemed like my son was having a tiny bit of an allergy when it came to shrimp. And I spoke to my doctor and she's like, unless it's like, you know, a big red flag, just keep going. So now the kids are 12 and my son has absolutely no issues when it comes to shrimp. We eat a lot of shrimp. Shrimp's like my go-to quick dinner because I could buy them in the frozen bags from Costco and then just take them out, soak them in water, and that's in case I forgot to defrost food or I didn't get to the grocery store that day. So sometimes, even if you think that they're having an allergy, if you speak to your doctor, go with the guidance of your pediatrician and go from there. If you're really worried about your babies having super potential anaphylactic issues, you might want to consider seeing an allergist and doing some allergy testing, really, and then you could give yourself a peace of mind knowing that they don't have allergies to that particular foods or whatever's. So you could do, like I said, we talked about the bananas, we talked about the avocados. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is rice cereal. Have you guys heard this? Because it can't just be me. Have you guys heard that you introduce rice cereal, you know, the sooner the better, and that's exactly what you do. But I want to tell you something that I learned from Lucy's List, which is true, is that rice cereal isn't rice and it isn't cereal. It's rice flour. So it's a flour base. It's not even I'm thinking oh, it's rice and then, you know, they boil the rice down and shred it or whatnot. When you read the ingredients of these items, then you see clearly it's not rice, it's rice flour. Our doctor actually advised us, and I know that your pediatrician might have given you the same advice. Our doctor advised us to start out with oatmeal instead of starting out with rice cereal. And a great oatmeal to start out with is Earth's Best makes a fantastic baby oatmeal that you could really start out with. So this sometimes starts out before the 6 months. Once again, you have to speak to your pediatrician, but you could always mix a little of the oatmeal with a little bit of breast milk or a little bit of formula, whatever you're using at the time. Have that be the real first introduction. And then you get to introduce your delicious bits and pieces that you can down the road. So what do you say that we make some baby food? Is this crazy? Julie, I know that you did not think that I was actually gonna do it. Oh my gosh, I'm knocking you on the floor. I'm so comfortable today. Guys, you know what else? Because I like to use this as my little therapy as well. Today is our last live feed from our New York City studio. So we will be going away for the summer with the Twinnies. Yes! Out of the concrete jungle into the grasslands. I'm so excited to get out of this, and I apologize for my fancy hair up, but I think that we hit 147 degrees here in New York City today. It's like sweating so much that the dog did not want to stay outside. The dog was like, let's go in. I can't do it. I'm dragging my 97-pound mutt down the street because she's just walking so slow and she's panting and she has these freckles on her tongue. So she's just going down the street. She can't take it. It's that hot today. So this was as good as I get, and no sleeves with my jiggly arms out. Don't care. That's just what's happening because I want you to start thinking about the solid introduction to your babies. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some carrots. And what I've done is I have gone ahead and I have gotten some carrots and I have I poached them, okay? So I have these cut into super fancy things. Can I tell you the truth? I didn't cut these carrots this way. I bought a bag of carrot chips. Don't hate me. I just get super lazy. It's actually not super lazy. I buy the carrot chips because I use them as crackers. So for me and the kids, since the kids were little, instead of giving you saltines or whatever, we always use carrot chips with hummus or any kind of dip, or even if you make an onion dip, we use carrot chips. And I just realized that you could probably see all the carrot inside of my mouth as I'm talking. I'm sorry, Liza. I don't mean to do this as stages bubbles. Sip of water, please. Okay, so we have our carrots. I boiled them in some water. I basically made the water the level with the carrots in the pot. Now, I did not toss the water out when I drained the carrots, because if this puree is too thick, then what we could do is we could add some of the water that we use for the poaching water or whatever you want to call it. We could use that to thin it out because there's vitamins and stuff in that water. So here's what we're going to do. We have our poached carrots, and then I hope that my extension cord reaches. And I have this guy, okay? So I have the Sage spoonful. Could you see the box there? You could see it. I don't have to bring it closer to you. I have the Sage Spoonfuls immersion blender and food processor. So it is a regular immersion blender, and that was my medieval torture device that I was showing you before. So it also has a little lock back here so you know that you're putting it on correctly. Boop. See, so when the arrow hits the lock button, then I know that it's in the right spot. This immersion blender is something you are going to use for years. You are not just going to use it if you are making your own baby food, but you're going to use this when making soups for 10 years. So if you're like, oh my gosh, it's a little bit on the pricey side, I'm telling you now, believe my words when I tell you, this is one of the items that are going to stay in your kitchen for a very long time. I make cauliflower soup on the regular basis. I don't know how I get my kids to eat so much cauliflower. They ate a lot as infants. They eat a lot as tweens. I love cauliflower. I love Brussels sprouts too, but I can't use this. I don't make Brussels sprout soup. But sometimes I make a tomato soup. Sometimes I make a cauliflower soup. Sometimes I use this at Thanksgiving. Every Thanksgiving I use it for my sweet potatoes to kind of mush them up a little bit. So this is their immersion blender, and it attaches onto this little food processor. The funny part is like, I know that we're talking about baby foods today, but I use these things to make like tzatziki and hummus. I make a lot of my own food, and it's not because I'm like super crunchy and like I want to have everything organic. I just do it because I find that mine is better, and mine probably isn't better. It's just that's what my family prefers. right? Because we got used to eating, like we eat a lot of garlic, like a lot. And the babies would have garlic since the dawn of time. So when we have things at home, I like to add a lot of garlic, and this is the way that I get it in there. Okay, so this little food processor is this tiny little container, right? It's not big. How many? It's 16 ounces is the max that could be in here. And it has like a blender piece at the bottom. Could you see this? So you put this in here. I'm gonna put our carrots in here with the water from the carrots. I think that was quite impressive that I just did not drop the carrots all over the place. All right, are you ready? Then we're gonna put our top on, and it's really easy to tell how to put the top on, which, by the way, Liza, love you for doing that. It's so super simple because it has like this little locking mechanism, so I know it's right. And you ready, guys? I'm gonna do it. That's it. I could do it on a pulse, or so when you're like, I can't make my own baby food, it's too much. I just made it live. I made your own baby food live right now. I would make it a little bit more pureed because, you know, even though I'm just doing this for you guys, I have to make it perfect. So now look, if it wasn't thickened, like let's say, look inside. You see what happened? It's like it's still a little crunchy. It's not as pureed as I would like. So what I could do is I could get some of the poaching liquid and I could throw it in there. And this is also a great way. You could add in some formula. You could add in some breast milk. And that way, the vegetables tasted like what they're already used to eating. Okay? Of course you would do this on a normal kitchen instead of hovering this by your face. Don't hover the immersion blender by your face. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. Could you tell? Did you guys know, weird nat fact of the day, did you know that I actually went to culinary school and that I was bred to work in restaurants here in New York City? That's literally what I was. My family has restaurants in the city, and so growing up my whole life, I grew up in a restaurant. I would go into the kitchen and help myself to stuff in the fridge. I would go behind the bar and steal all the oranges and the cherries and eat so many maraschino cherries I would make myself sick. So as I was getting older, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to culinary school. So for college, that's what I did. So if you're like, how did she become the twin expert? What school did she go to? Well, I went to City Tech in Brooklyn. I went to a city university, put myself through college happily, and worked full-time through most of my college life, and decided that once I got out, I hated culinary school. I hated it because I couldn't see people eat my food. So now I'm a frustrated chef. So when my babies were little, I would simply make their food, and I never got a bad Yelp review from my twinnies. I'm telling you, that's it, it's done, boom. There is no question about this. It is officially done, boom, bamboozled. I made some delicious carrot puree. It tastes like carrots. It doesn't taste anything fancy. But when you're introducing solids to babies, you don't want to start off super fancy. You want to start off slow and then gradually work your way up into more flavors. Now, going back to the good book of Sage Spoonfuls, what I really liked is that she has a whole section in here about different herbs and stuff that you could add in and which ones are better. Where did I find that? Was it Yummy Combinations? I swear I was reading it earlier today and I'm like, that's genius. And they were talking about the benefits of basil and the benefits of dried, like she preferred to use fresh herbs and spices where you still can use dried herbs and spices. These carrots are delicious. By the way, I love carrots. So here, now, once I'm done pureeing, right? And if you do buy like regular carrots, let's say, or regular potatoes or whatever, and you don't buy pre-cut vegetables, what you do is you put them in here. And now once I'm done with this, I take it out. And then, I didn't remember a spoon. I put it into my jars. So Sage Spoonfuls also makes, oh, I'm dropping more things. They also make food storage containers. They make glass and they make BPA-free plastic. So you could choose whatever you want. So clearly, I would buy some of the small ones and some of the large ones. But here's what's crazy. For the Twinnies, maybe only buy the large ones because you're going to make double the batches anyway. And, I mean, can I do this? Is this going to be like epic fail? Oh, epic failing, abort, abort. Wasn't working. But I would put my purees into my jars, and then I would put the jars either in the refrigerator or I would put the jars into the freezer, depending, and you would not typically lick your fingers and do this. Julie says it's prize time. Jewel, what are we giving away, Julie? Tell me how many tries you want to give away first. I think we do the jars, right? I have tons of carrot in my mouth. We're going to do some more stuff too. Are you guys having fun? If you're having fun and you're enjoying the insanity in our New York City studio of pureeing carrots on the spot, I love to see some hearts. I love to see some faces. I love to see thumbs up. And look, Jamie is already on it. Andrea is already on it. If you want prize time, you know what you have to do. And we are going to be giving away a set of these jars. You're going to love them. Here's another reason why I love them, okay? They're so easy to use. You know how some jars you have, and it is, Jewel, are you sending me this on Messenger? I'm using Johnny's computer for the record. Okay, good, I got it. So we are going to give away, wow, guys, that's a crazy generous prize. So we're giving away this prize package that's worth over 70 bucks. It has the puree and blender. It has 6 of the 4-ounce jars. It has the pocket nutrition guide. I love that pocket nutrition guide. The minute that I got it in the box, I got so excited. It's like a cheat sheet of nutrition. And you're getting a copy of the book too. OMG, guys, I'm so excited. When you get the book, I'm going to tell you the best pages to read. Number 1, you're going to read page 17, one of my favorite pages, which gives you the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. So if you would like to win this prize package, all you have to say is, I want a spoonful. I want a spoonful is all that you have to do in order to win this prize package. We have more prizes to give away as well. But if you want to win this, just say, I want a spoonful. You know that I love this. I love giving away prizes. Like, and you get some jars, and you get an immersion blender, and you get a food processor. I love it. I love giving away stuff. All right, so all you have to do is just say, I want a spoonful, and then Julie's gonna pick a random winner. So you get the blender too. Yeah, so we get the immersion blender. The immersion blender actually comes in the same box as the food processor because it could be used independently, right? So the same thing that I was using before to make my carrots, I could take this piece off and it's no longer the food processor, and now it's simply the immersion blender. And this is what I use now to make our soups and stuff. So my cauliflower soup, yeah, that's pretty dangerous. You hear it? Wowie, wow, wow. That's pretty impressive. And it's really, 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 really easy to wash. This is all machine washable too. Obviously not this because it has the cord and needs to be plugged in. But this is, as is the food processor, and I love that to bits and pieces. So, did you say that you want a spoonful yet? Because that's what you have to do to enter. And now I want to talk about more stuff. Who's in like the finger food portion of the universe? If you're like in the, what month is that? I would say like 7 to 9 months when you're in the finger food portion, or even like not 7 to 9, 7 to 9 is a little early. The 10 to 12 months is when you start using more and more finger foods. Let me know, because we could definitely talk about some finger foods. And if you want some recipe ideas, like if you want to get hungry, let me tell you which ones I really like. So the pureed tomatoes, I love. And then what it does too in this book is it'll tell you exactly how to make pureed tomatoes, but then it's like, but wait, there's more, which you know is like the story of my Twiniversity life. On this side, it tells you, okay, well, yummy combinations would be tomatoes and cauliflower, tomatoes and zucchini, tomatoes and butternut squash. See, so it'll give you every little combination that you could possibly desire. And of course, even if you don't win a prize package today, and I really want everybody to win, but you gotta at least pick this up. So Jewel could give you a link to it on Amazon. I really honestly would buy it. I'm telling you the truth. I love this book. I thought this was the most planned out and well thought book that I have read when it comes to introducing solids. And they were very like usable recipes, where I have read some other cookbooks that have been like, you know, not saying that they were out there, but a little bit more complicated. This is really for like the beginner's beginner. So check this out. That's why I love them, but you know, that's how I do it. So now remember, let's say we were making tomatoes, we would introduce the tomatoes independently, and then there's the cauliflower independently. But once I know that those two little fruits, those two veggies are good, well, technically is tomato a fruit or a vegetable? What do you think it is? Is it a fruit or a vegetable? Right, because it had seeds, so technically, and it grows on a vine, so technically it's a fruit, isn't it? But then does anybody eat it like, oh, let me eat this tomato? Right? What do you think it is? Is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. Anybody remember that commercial either? So you're going to introduce these things separately. Once you know that you're in the clear, then you're good to go. Yes, does it have toddler recipes too? Yes, it does have toddler recipes too, so thank you. If you go towards the back of the book, they have all of their family favorite recipes, and these are really their family favorite recipes. So there's smoothies back here. She has, this is it, the chicken soup pasta. This is delectable. So the chicken soup pasta is a great, this is one of my favorites in here. What other ones have you tried that we really enjoyed? Oh, of course, the tomato sauce. Hi, I am Italian, and I have to say, this Italian girl does agree with this tomato recipe. Actually, I would, depending on what I was doing, if I was using meat, I would include bay leaf. Like if I was making tomato soup and meatball, like tomato sauce and meatballs, I would put bay leaf. But my grandmother said you don't put bay leaf unless there is meat in the sauce. But that was really good. They even have like this mango pork tenderloin, and you're like, that's so fancy. If you look at the ingredient list, it's really not that fancy. And if you're tired of cooking the same things over and over in your home, this is a great way. Does anybody still buy cookbooks besides me? I love cookbooks. And why I like cookbooks is when the kids, I basically get them involved. So what I do is I give the kids the cookbook. I buy cookbooks online. I give the kids the cookbook, and I'm like, you pick out what you would like to eat. And in many cookbooks, like this one, for example, oh, look, my hummus recipe. In many cookbooks, there's also pictures of the food. So even if your kids can't read, they could flip through and be like, oh, yes, I want to try that pork tenderloin, or I want to try this stir fry. And then you're like, okay, then I'll try it. But that's why I like this, because if you're online, it's not as easy to scroll through and have the kids pick it out. But if the kids pick it out, you could get the kids involved in cooking. And if the kids are involved in the cooking, they're more likely going to eat it. They'll at least try it. So if you haven't figured out, like, how do I introduce broccoli? How do I introduce Brussels sprouts? Get them involved in the process of cooking once they get bigger. Obviously, we're not going to do this with, 7-month-olds. But what happens is that there's a time around 18 months that they get really, really, really picky. And it's almost like you had to, Marnie, I love that you have 30-year-old cookbooks. I still have all my grandmother's cookbooks, and I use them every single holiday. I pull out our cookbooks and we go through all of them, and it's one way that you could taste previous generations, right? Because how else could you, like, there's so many memories that come along with food, and if you read Liza's book, you're gonna see that it's more than just recipes. She gives you stories in here, she gives you anecdotes, she tells you, about her preemie, and she gives you an insight into her life and how she came to create this, baby food empire, right? This baby food making empire. It's great. And I'm partial to them. I'm partial to them because I think that she has great ideas and great recipes, because that's how I knew them first. But once I got to meet her, and when I see her, she is the type of person that when you are with her, she radiates such positivity and energy that you just, it's like, it's infectious. and it makes you happy, and it makes me happy to be around her. And what's really crazy is that her recipes have that same infusion of joy that her personality has. And you guys know, like, you know, I talk about a lot of people, we talk about a lot of things, but I have goosebumps because she is such a magical person. And as you know, from like a female entrepreneur, right? Because Twiniversity is a business, and I did start this business. So from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, I have the utmost respect for her and her team. And she comes out with these, I really have goosebumps. It's hilarious. So she comes out with these great products, and it's not only the immersion blender and making baby food, but to me, she's not saying you have to do it. She's saying, if you want to do it, I'm going to give you the right tools. And that, I don't want to have guilt, right? Because not everybody wants to make their own baby food. Some people are like, no, thank you. I'm going to pass. I don't want to do this. But what Liza does is she's like, you know what? It's not for everybody, but if you want to give it a go, I'm going to get you off to the best start by giving you the appropriate tools. Like, she even gives you a list of what you should have in your kitchen, not food-wise, but just prep-wise. Like, what do I need to have in my kitchen? Like a food peeler. Some people don't even have a food peeler in their house anymore. So if you don't have a carrot peeler, you know, when you were young, I remember myself just peeling carrots or, you know, ripping the ends off string beans and stuff. Nowadays, you could buy frozen string beans. But what's cool is that even if you buy the frozen string beans, she's like, okay, so you bought frozen string beans. Here's what we're going to do to make our own food. And it's really not that difficult. It is time consuming, but it's really not that difficult. Guess what time it is? What time do you think it is? And please don't say 12:40, because that's not the answer that I am looking for. What time is it now? Come on, kids. Don't let me down. You know that. Tanya, we'll definitely give you some more ideas for your 1-year-olds. I also want to tell people, like, you know, don't be afraid of meat. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know. You know, do I give this baby chicken? Do I give this baby pork? Do I give this baby beef? Do I give this baby lamb? What could I give this baby? Don't be afraid of meat. You could puree meat the same way you puree vegetables, in the same way that you puree fruits. Yes, guys, it's prize time, prize time, prize time, prize time, prize time. If you would like to win a prize, say, what do we want to say? I don't know. We're going to say peas, right? Because we have good manners. Do you guys know that I come up with all of this on the fly? I have plans for before this live feed starts, and I have a whole, like, if you look in front of me, I have all different things, and then I get online and I just go where the wind takes us. So if you would like to win our next prize package from our friends at Sage Spoonfuls, please, 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 all you have to do is say peas. Say peas and carrots. You could say peas, pretty peas, whatever you like. Make sure the word peas is in there, and Julie will know that you would like to win a wonderful prize package from our friends at Sage Spoonfuls, which is the immersion blender and food processor, the jars, right? The pocket nutrition guide, and the cookbook, which is just like the cat's pajamas. So that's that. So now I want to tell you about some other things that they have, which isn't part of our prize pack today, but Julie and I are moderately obsessed with. You know, like our friends at Happy Family, they have their delicious, clearly crafted pouches, right? So they have these great pouches, and everybody's like, oh, you know, the convenience of those pouches make me want to buy that food. Now, I'm not saying don't. Go ahead. You know, that apple blueberries oatmeal from Happy Family is just my jam. I had a pack of it last night at Twiniversity class here in the city. But what Sage Spoonfuls did is Sage Spoonfuls created their own pouch. So if I am going to make my carrots, I am going to mash up some bananas, instead of worrying about like the convenience of having your babies use the pouches, you could have your own pouches. Now, are you ready to just rock your world? These are BPA phthalate free, PVC free, dishwasher safe, freezer safe. So you could put applesauce in here for your toddlers, throw it in the freezer if you're going to the park overnight. Not if you're going to the park overnight. I'm losing it, guys. if you're going to the park during the day, you could take out a frozen applesauce. You could use it as an ice pack to keep your sandwiches and everything else cold. So check this out, okay? So this is the pouch. It has the top just like the regular pouches do. And look, all we do is pull the pouch apart and it's like a little Ziploc. And now, by the power of television, blink your eyes everybody right now, and I'm gonna make something appear. Abracadabra applesauce, okay? Applesauce is something that our family always makes, because apples we could get all different times of year. You get different apples different times a year, but I love making applesauce. And it's, remember how I was saying about things that remind me of like family and grandmas and stuff like that? This is one of those things. So we always have applesauce, and now I've been using these to put the applesauce in and freezing it, and my kids, who are 12 by the way, still use these pouches. All right, you do it out of laziness. Now it's not out of convenience. Now it's like, I don't want a spoon. I want to play my games. And you know, I'm not going to say I'm going to kill them on live feeds, but you know, I'm going to kill them if they spill something on the computer. So you take the applesauce, you put it into the bag. Okay, this I think was, I don't know, I'm going to say it was around 4 ounces. It may not have been 4 ounces. It's not a lot. So it's there. If you want to know how much is in there, there's a little window in the back as well. And all you have to do is you just zip up. I put too much, guys. I put too much. But I zip it up. I mean, it's just too much. It's not too much. And that's it. I zipped it up. And now I have a pouch of applesauce that is reusable. So, done. Look. I will squeeze it out. Do you see? The applesauce. Now, I love my applesauce. I have my to-go pack of applesauce, and my applesauce recipe is literally, I just boil apples in a tiny bit of water. I add in some cinnamon, and depending on the apples, sometimes I throw in some brown sugar, some white sugar. Sometimes I don't need to throw in any, depends on the apples that I'm using. I just boil it down, and I have, I don't even peel them, by the way. So, well, this one I did peel because I was trying to use it for a different recipe that I was making at home. I was trying to be fancy, but I don't usually peel it. And what's cool is that when you don't peel them, your applesauce turns pink. Because if you use the immersion blender, or even if you use an old school ricer, I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but if you use an old school ricer with the apple skin still on, you get this beautiful pink applesauce. And my kids always would eat it more. Because, really? Julie just told me something. So I'm going to tell you in a second. But it gives this beautiful pink kind of tinge to it. Now, Julie was just saying that this has a spout. Jewel, does it? I don't know. If you could show us a picture of that, Jewel. Pop a picture of that. Julie says that there's a spout to put it into the pouches. For that, I want to know where that is. I could just be wrong though. So we have those. Another thing that I love to bits and pieces is their little snack packs. So they have these cute little snack packs that I would put on the little arm of your stroller or a hook, and that way you could always keep food. And why they're great for snacks is because it has a lining that's washable. So you could use this instead of using Ziplocs. You could use these. We use these easily, like the sandwich size bags. I'm telling you, minimum a year is what we would use in the Diaz house, because I would make the kids sandwiches. I could sometimes use cookie cutters to make the sandwiches into fancy shapes. They actually even have cookie cutters that have like shapes like dinosaurs and stars, and I know, Julie, that that's an unexpected thing, but if you could find that online, especially the dinosaur ones. So what this cookie cutter does is you press it down on the sandwich, it cuts all of the crusts of the sandwich off, and then you have 2 little dinosaurs in here. And my kids loved it, and I did have a supremely picky eater, but if it was a fun color or a fun shape, she would eat it. So these little bags are a great way to store little foods. Let's see, I think I actually have some snacks in here. Right now I have some Happy Family snacks. I didn't know this was gonna be lunchtime for me, but Happy Family makes these great puffs. So you could put some puffs in here, you could put goldfish in here, you could put whatever you want. You could throw that in here. And that's what we have for that. Those are delicious, by the way. I really, really love them. So what else are we gonna talk about? All right, what questions do you have for me, whether it's toddler feeding, whether it's infant feeding, whether it's how do you feed your family, and different things that you could do, like, do you guys have the Instapot? Am I the only sucker that bought into an Instapot? Please tell me that I'm not alone. While I do like my Instapot, everything seems to come out the same consistency. As an adult, I get a little bored of it because I haven't figured out how to bake a cake in it and how to make a roast in it. But I like that I could put in raw pasta and raw chicken or frozen chicken, raw pasta, some sauces, and then, you know, cook it for like 12 minutes. And it basically comes out a little mushy, but it's definitely cooked. So like in a jam, 12 minutes, I could have a dinner for everybody. I really do love my crock pot. I know that the Instapot could be used as a crock pot too. I'm using my crock pot today. I'm making a giant pork roast. So I think it's actually the shoulder is the piece that I bought. So today we're gonna eat the pork shoulder. And this is if you had toddlers, I would puree the pork with a little bit of some of the fluid from the carrots. I would put some of that in there with the pork, or put in some of that with the chicken. But today we eat the pork just as pork with rice. Tomorrow we eat it like carnitas and I make tacos. That's gonna be Wednesday. Then Thursday we're gonna take a pork day off. Then Friday I'm making Cuban sandwiches. So my one pork roast is gonna get me 3 different meals for 5 people. So the Diaz family, we're 4 people, but usually my sister comes up or my mom comes up or my aunt comes in. Somebody is always coming in. So just know that you could stretch out meals and you don't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna make these carrots because we're gonna eat these at lunchtime. When you make carrots, you make carrots. You buy, 5 pounds of carrots and you make them all at once, and then you put them into these fantastic jars, throw them in the freezer, and take them out as you go. So when do you introduce eggs and peanuts? Remember how I was saying in the beginning of this feed that you need to speak to your doctor, because if you have a peanut allergy, you may want to wait a little bit to introduce eggs or peanuts depending. But for us, we know that there was no history of it and we introduced eggs pretty quickly. So, by the first year, we had personally introduced eggs to our little monkeys, but you got to speak to your pediatrician about that, because those are kind of the tricky foods. And not that I don't want to talk about the tricky foods, because I love talking about the tricky foods. And eggs are a staple. We never buy less than 18 eggs at a time. The kids eat a ton of eggs. I eat a ton of eggs. Eggs are the building block of life, right? It's like this little perfect food that's all wrapped up. If you are breastfeeding, you should be eating quite a few eggs yourself. So that is something that you should. Now there's also this thing, I think it's called Hello Peanut, which is this new system about introducing peanuts to your kids. And its premise is that it gives you these little packs of like peanut powder. And once you know that foods are safe, so let's say you give them carrots, you put a little bit of this peanut powder in, like a minimal amount on day 1. You mix it with the carrots and then you give it to the babies and you're like, okay, no reaction. Then the next day there's this next package and stuff. And Julie, if you could get the Amazon link, I think it's called Hello Peanut, you could pop that up too, because if you really are concerned about it, it's a gradual way to introduce peanuts to the babies instead of being like, okay, peanut butter sandwiches for everybody. But peanut butter and eggs are a staple in our house. All right, we got some more questions coming in. And my God, my eyes are going. When did you start finger foods and where do I start? So finger foods, your very first finger foods, they have to develop kind of that pincher grasp. And this is where you start. You start with Cheerios. You start with little bits of cereal. So these are great. The Happy Baby Puffs are good. They also have these little yogurt thingies that are pretty thin. They're actually really good. It's like little yogurt bits. I like these because they remind me of Cheerios. You could always do Cheerios too. But even without chewing, these melt right into your mouth. They melt right into your mouth. Also, for the record, for that Hello Peanut thing, you got to speak to your pediatrician beforehand. Don't just start things, on your own. You should always give your doc a heads up. And if they're like, yeah, not a good time, let them be the judge of that, because here at Twiniversity, I could say, this is when I would do things, but I never did things without speaking to my pediatrician, so I don't want you to do the same things either. So when do we start with finger foods? Well, remember how I said in the beginning too that we're going to start sitting them in their high chair. When they're in their high chair, give them little bits of whatever it is, right? So you start out with the purees, and as the babies grow, you make them chunkier and chunkier and chunkier and chunkier and chunkier until they're little squares of the carrots. And then when they could pick it up, you don't have to puree anymore. So you only have to puree for a few months, and then eventually they're going to be picking up these little bits of carrots, but make sure that they're cooked properly, that there's no choking hazards, that you make sure that everything is safe. But I would start to give finger foods between 10 and 12 months. And it really depends. You could do little bits of toast. So if you wanted to take a piece of seedless rye bread or something, different, I wouldn't necessarily start off with white toast, but maybe even some wheat toast, because whatever they're going to eat, it's not a lot that they are getting. So make sure that it is really nutritionally sound. So don't do the white bread, do the whole wheat bread. And if you don't feel like doing whole wheat because you don't like whole wheat and you don't want to eat it, check pumpernickel, check rye bread. There's a lot of different breads out there other than white bread. And also check the breads that you're buying. But toast is a great way to introduce a finger food, because toast, you could toast it nicely, and then we could cut it into strips. And then once they get the hang of those strips, we could start putting stuff on it. So we could put the carrot puree on it. We could make avocado toast. I love avocado toast. We could do little egg sandwiches once they get the hang of it. So start off slow. We always, a staple of ours would be grilled cheese. My kids loved grilled cheese. But we did good grilled cheesies. We did the whole wheat bread with cheddar cheese. I didn't buy American. And, not that there's really anything wrong. And I do want to say that I'm not trying to say you buy the best and this is what you do. But since they're eating so little of it, even if you're it's breaking the bank to buy a good piece of cheddar, you don't have to buy the 30-year-old aged Vermont cheddar. You could buy the Cracker Barrel cheddar from Kraft that is $4.99 for a pound of it, and a pound of that cheese is going to last you forever. OMG, guys, Julie just told me. Guess what time it is? So you tell me what time it is, and I love chickpeas, Ricky. That's my favorite. I buy those from Boxed. Have you guys used Boxed yet? Boxes is one of my favorite places to shop, and we ate a lot of beans. And when Anna was little, she still kind of is little, but she was super, super picky. So I would say maybe at 7 months, she didn't really like the peas and carrots, but she loved black beans. So I would buy the cans of the black beans, and I would put the vegetables into the black beans and make her little black bean soups. She still, to this day, would eat black beans every day of the week. And she would eat them right out of the can. She won't even bother. I have to admit, I have never made homemade beans. I am a disgrace to my husband and his Puerto Rican family. Please don't tell them. Please don't tell them. But I've never made beans. I've always just bought beans. So let's see. Let's go to more questions. Oh, yes! You guys are right. It is prize time, prize time. It's our last prize of the day. If you want to win a Sage Spoonfuls prize pack, all we have to do is say, oh, I have nothing to say. If we want to win a prize pack, you know what we could say? Thank you, Sage Spoonfuls. That's what we could say. And if you feel free to tag them, you certainly don't have to tag them, but if you want to tag them and just say thank you, Sage Spoonfuls, I know that they would love to hear that you found this chat that we had beneficial. And it is a love fest. I do have a love fest for them. What can I tell you? I'm human. She is amazing. You would love her too. Maybe someday we'll do a live feed with her, because I know she lives here in my neck of the woods. But just say thank you, Sage Spoonfuls, if you would like to win our final prize pack of the day, which is the immersion blender, the pocket guide, some jars, and of course this just super, super stunning, visually stunning, as well as nutritionally sound. I love how time flies so fast that I didn't get to any of the pieces that I wanted to get to in this book. Did you know that 1 pound of fresh spinach equals 8 ounces of puree? I did not know the conversion from that. That's one thing that I wanted to tell you, because now I'll tell you everything that I wanted to tell you. Next thing that I wanted to tell you is on page 39, instead of telling you feed your children these foods, She gives you a list of foods to avoid. So no honey until 12 months, no cow's milk until 12 months, no soy cheese until 12 months, no chocolate until 12 months, no added sugar or salt until at least 12 months, no processed or fried food, okay, no peanut seeds here, this is what she says, no peanuts, seeds, or tree nuts, walnuts, pecans, etc., until given the okay by your children's pediatrician. I'm a genius. That's what I say. I like to read that. No for artificial sweeteners ever. If you would like to me to sing an entire page of this book, I need to see thumbs ups and hearts. I'm really not going to do that, but that's funny though, right? Avoid giving your child juice until 12 months. But I love this whole list of foods to avoid. I think it's extraordinary. And then the other thing that I loved is like the benefits of going organic. If you are considering becoming an organic family, or even if you just want to feed the babies organic foods to kind of get them off on the right start. And we've had plenty of Twiniversity families who've had some big, all you have to do, Julie says I didn't tell you, if you would like to win the prize pack, all you have to do is say thank you, Sage Spoonfuls. And then once Julie sees that, and then we will know that you are in it to win it. So just say thank you, Sage Spoonfuls, and you will be entered into winning our final prize pack. So I do want to say something about milk when you do introduce cow's milk. If you see that your babies are changing, or maybe that their bodies are changing, and we've had a few people actually at our Twiniversity family that their kids have had aversions to non-organic cow's milk. There are additives in some cow's milk, not every cow's milk, but if you buy like conventional cow's milk, there could be hormones in the cow's milk that actually could affect your kids. I've seen it with my own eyes. If I didn't see it, I would never believe it, that that's something that could happen. So when you do introduce cow's milk, whether it's conventional or organic, just keep an eye out for anything that pops up. And if you do see anything that makes you concerned, please make sure that you tell your pediatrician. All right, guys, well, I have about 872 more tips to give you. You could always visit the Sage Spoonfuls website, which has a ton of more information and of course gives you more details on how to buy their little goodies. If I'm going to tell you, listen, things that you need to get today, these sandwich bags are fantastic because you could use them for really anything. I mean, you could use this as a first aid kit. You could use this, I think Julie uses this as a wallet. Jewel, what do you use this for? Because I know that you love these packs, and if your kids are in camp, this is a great way to, and it's not even that I'm worried about my carbon footprint, because I'm kind of worried about it, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not like anti-Ziploc, but I have like no storage in my apartment. My kitchen is super small, so I don't have, you know, a ton of room, but having something, oh, she uses it for her business cards. That's what's in here. So Julie's Twiniversity business cards are in our little Sage Spoonfuls pack. Well, I don't have a lot of room like I was saying, so having things that are reusable, it's fantastic because their stuff is in here, and then when they come home from school, I open the bag, I turn it inside out like this, I just wash it with some water, and then I put it on top of a spoon. If you have like a utensil holder in your kitchen, I use my utensil holder to hold utensils, but I also use it to put my little reusable sandwich bags on top of it. Let's say this is like a spoon, right? I do it like this so that the inside dries and the outside dries, because that is the way that I roll. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was an honor, as always, to join you on your phone or tablet or computer. Could you guys answer me one more question? Because I just want to know this for my own little research. How are you watching me today? Are you watching me on your phone? Are you watching me on a computer, on a tablet, you know, your iPhone, your Samsung, whatever it is? So how are you watching me today, and what do you prefer? Do you prefer watching on your phone? Are your kids there? Are you not your kids there? I'm always curious to know what's happening on your side of this phone or tablet or whatever. Someday I think we should do a reverse live feed. Yes! Julie is reminding me, gently reminding me in all caps, today we have big news. Are you guys ready for big news? If you would, you don't even have to tell me that you want big news, because I'm telling you anyway. We launched a Twiniversity mentor program. If your babies are here And if you would like to become a mentor, or if you are expecting or have new babies and would like to become a mentee, so you want somebody to connect with, Jula's going to send you a link right now. It's going to pop up. Go onto our page. It is something that I have been dreaming about since I launched Twiniversity in 2009, and I can't believe that it is coming to fruition. A big, big, big thank you to Julie and the Mom Squad, especially Rashina, for getting this off the ground and helping our families connect with other families. And if you don't know, Twiniversity has a tagline, right? So like every business is like, you know, this is my tagline. The tagline at Twiniversity is community, knowledge, and humor. I want you guys to connect with one another, not just to connect with me and the Mom Squad. I want you to connect with fellow parents of multiples around the country. I want to educate you with things like this and give you good tips on how you could make, you know, your world a little bit easier. And I always want to make you laugh, because laughter is the best medicine in the universe. I love to laugh as much as possible. I like to make my team laugh. I like to make my friends laugh, my kids laugh, everybody, and of course you guys. So that is what I want you to do. If they could do, but yeah, you can be both. You could absolutely be both. You could be a mentor to somebody that's expecting if you have toddlers, and you could ask to be a mentee if you want somebody who has, you know, school-age children to get through. Absolutely, you could be part of both. I am humbled that you are even asking that question, because if you are, you believe in Twiniversity as much as I do and the rest of our team does, because we don't do it for us, right? My kids are big. My kids are 12. They're unloading dishwashers, folding laundry. I got it down. I do this because I don't want any of you to have the experience that I had when they were growing up. I don't want any of you to feel alone. I don't want you to feel anybody to feel disconnected or isolated. We are here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do not take days off. Well, everybody takes days off. The Mom Squad does. I'm not like working them to the bone. I don't take days off. As long as I could get away from my kids, and I don't try to get away, but if it's something critical, like God forbid you have micro-preemies or postpartum depression, the Twiniversity Squad is here to help you every step of the way. That is what we do, and we're very, very lucky to be able to support ourselves by having great partners like our folks at Sage Spoonfuls and Happy Family and Pampers and Earth's Best and everybody else, because the more we could do, it's fun to give away stuff, but they help me make sure that that Mom Squad is happy. And because I don't think, like, if you're going to take time away from your family, I want you to have it be worth it, not only kind of emotionally, but I want you to be compensated too. And these guys are the ones that help me keep the lights on. So I would love if you guys would go over to Sage Spoonfuls and thank them for participating in this with us today. And go and check out the mentor program. I am overtime. I told you, I said 40 minutes. I lie. I am a liar. I am a big fat liar. I always go longer than I say I'm going to go. But I see that you guys are there and I'm like, oh, wait, did I talk about this? Did I do this? But I'm going to go back to reality. I have a few more things to do, and that's it. So have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations to our winners. And if you didn't win, make sure you check out the links and you could get all this stuff yourself. So see you later, alligators, and have the best day ever. Bye, guys.